And it's end of an era, and it does bring a tear to my eye, but it's been a great run, and I will miss it. I went to my first Warped Tour in 1997, and of course there were all the great bands back then. Blink-182, which did the tour so many times, and then 98 I went again, and it was NOFX, which is a band obviously is one of the greatest Warped Tour bands, and those bands influenced me so much. It was my dream to play Warped Tour, and then we did, and we did Warped Tour. How many times did we do it, Billy? 250 shows. We did Warped Tour 250 times. So I'm not saying we're the greatest, but I'm saying it's pretty cool that I can talk about my band as being one of the staples of Warped Tour after all these years. And it's a pretty cool feeling. Excited to see what they do with the last one and what kind of bands they swing.
I'm gonna have to shout out our boys in Beartooth. Well, first off, the best ever band to play Warped Tour is Silvertooth, but I'll give it to Beartooth because they're just the most fun. Watching them every day, they get the crowd so pumped up, but also just like being on Warped Tour, they're like my best friends, and it's like nothing better than being on that tour and being surrounded by friends, like hanging out every day, spending our days off together and stuff. So I definitely could not imagine doing Warped Tour without Beartooth, so I gotta say Beartooth. I think spontaneous collaboration is like what makes touring fun. Like you can just kind of get out there and play the same set and then play the same songs every day. But when you're spending like 2 months with the same group of people, like really us and Beartooth would just sit around and hang out together. And it just kind of started where we'd be watching each other's sets, and then it would kind of be like, oh, like hand this guy the guitar, or like here comes Caleb with the microphone, or like Paul Mark's playing that riff or something. Like that's kind of how it started. And then one day we were just like, we should just let's just set it up together. And we kind of ran it by the Warped Tour staff, and everyone was a little bit like, oh, that's gonna be terrible. But then it happened, and then everyone talked about it for months. So it was like, when's that gonna happen again? So Silvertooth lives, and this, it's not gonna be the last you hear of Silvertooth.
The one year we were on with NOFX, I think it was 2006. I watch NOFX every day. Because not only are they my favorite band of all time, but they are a band that always switches their set at Warped Tour. And that was inspiring for us too, because we always switch our set at Warped Tour. It's just, I can't imagine playing the same 25-minute set all summer. So it was cool just because you never knew what to expect. They let me write their set list one time. They one time played a set list that only the songs all just started with S, just for no reason. It's just like, it just teaches you a lot about that this is fun. Music is fun, and I loved watching them because it was always so entertaining. I'd say when they played The Decline, which is an 18-minute, punk anthem, I guess, they played that a couple times on Warped Tour. Once when they weren't supposed to, it was getting rained out, and Kevin Lyman came on and said, "One more song." I said, "Okay," and then they started playing it, and it was the storm getting worse and worse, and Kevin Lyman's going, "When is this song gonna end?" And that was probably a bit of a stick it to the man move on NOFX's part, but that was definitely one of my favorite moments of Warped Tour of all time.